off Lower Decks?
I mean, it's surreal. Like I'm there. We didn't mess up once. I really like all the episodes we made. I never thought I'd get to make a Star Trek show, and now I have 50 episodes of a Star Trek show that I made with friends the whole time, and getting to watch it here with you because we were lurking in the back, like getting to hear you all laugh and enjoy it. Like this is not. When you put something out on TV, you don't get to experience that. So this is really special for all of us. Like,
This is very exciting.
I
gotta say, this is a very informed opinion, but over these years, almost 60, the original series started off, was right out of the gate, it was great. But the other shows, kind of took a while for them to find their footing. But not Lower Decks. Lower Decks was great from the start. When you first got going, in the first season, before anyone had even seen it, were you guys nervous that we're doing an animated show and it's got humor and it's?
Yes, both of those things were big departures from Trek. So there was an animated show that people don't like to mention. And it wasn't meant to be funny. And I think this was meant to be funny. It was, done in a very awesome style, but also a very modern style of animation. But Mike, at the helm, just knocked it out of the park. So it was very exciting to be part of it, but it was still nerve-wracking because you were just like, well, I hope people dig it, and I hope people are ready to laugh at Trek in the right way.
Well, Trek fans famously accepting of a new series.
Well, that we knew. We knew they were going to come with open arms and ready to.
That was sarcasm.
Maybe a little.
But Mike, your knowledge is, when you go into a session with Mike, his knowledge is so deep. He's pitching lines and jokes, and I have to say, Mike, I have no idea what you're talking about right now. And he's like, it's from a DS9 episode 13, season 4. And then I repeat, Mike, I have no idea what you're talking about. For example, and I want to apologize, okay? And it's awkward for me to admit this in front of everybody. But when that bird in that Orion scene went, I don't know what that's funny, but my entire back row is going, holy shit! So Mike, explain, what is so funny about that?
Well, nobody. So that bird,
Give me an episode in a season.
Well, no, the bird. A lot of times on Lower Decks, when we don't have the audio yet, I will temp in placeholder sounds for stuff, and they left me in as the bird.
Yes! That's what I was laughing for.
That's what we were laughing about.
I knew that was the fact, and but I never had heard it, and the fact that I heard it in front of everybody and everybody laughed for a different reason made me laugh even harder.
And it's a blizzard, Jerry. Look it up on Memory Alpha now.
So that you get the side part.
Yeah.
So, just over these years, especially, when I've met, so many fans who go into conventions, since 1979, people say, oh, I love Star Trek because it's about a positive depiction of the future, it's optimistic, and so on and so on. And I love all of that, and I love that people connect with that. But for me, Star Trek was really about the characters. I just love these characters, and I know you all feel the same way. So, Noël, what do you love the most about Tendi over these 5 seasons? Her arc. And what an arc.
Well, I love that she comes off as really naive, and then we see that she's not, but that her spirit is so pure and so genuinely her, and we've we reveal this backstory, and it's like, I'm reluctantly a badass. And that's very fun to play.
But I feel like this season, just having seen the first, these two and the two more, I feel like everyone's really growing up on Lower Decks this season. Is that a fair assessment, especially about Rutherford?
Yeah, I think, we saw in the first two of how he deals with his bestie not being there, but he's still dealing with it, which is still, grown up for the way that he has been prior to this season. But ultimately, everybody kind of falls into their place pretty well, and now that, the Core Four are back together, it feels pretty, it feels exciting that they will keep growing from this point forward into the end of the season.
Rutherford across the season, you guys see in this, and it's not really a spoiler, you'll see how it expresses, but we do kind of a subtle thing with Rutherford this season that I really liked, and I liked watching these episodes with these guys because without Tendi there, Rutherford starts to, for the first time in his life, not fully be in love with engineering, and starts to be like, who am I? Wait, it starts to make him question everything. And even with Tendi back, that remains, and you'll see it across the season. It's not a huge story, but I love Rutherford, and I love any scene with Rutherford and Tendi, I love, and I just think it's a really interesting, an interesting thing that would happen in Starfleet. I like watching it this season.
The other thing I definitely noticed, I'm sure a lot of you go to the big Trek convention in Las Vegas every August, is that, right? Yes? So, over these last few years, more and more, I start to hear that their favorite Star Trek series, especially of the newer ones, is Lower Decks. And I'm sure because it was such a big hurdle, that Lower Decks is really catchy on.
Can I use your comm badge? I think because it's a love letter to Starfleet. I mean, I think it's just a love letter to Starfleet. And I gotta tell you, I live with someone who's in another Starfleet show. And the fact that you said Lower Decks is your favorite, I'm gonna tell her that tonight.
Great, that's out of the bag.
I'm gonna tell her, I'm gonna get home, I'm in LA, it's gonna be a little late, I'm gonna crawl into bed, and I'm gonna go, hey honey, wake up. She's gonna be like, what?
We can hear about Jerry's bedtime later, because for me, when we aired first season, it was literally in the pandemic, we couldn't talk to anybody, and there were a lot of angry YouTubers that were pausing it and going, and I was like, oh no, do people not like this? That's great. And there were a couple of people that we would find that kind of got it, and for me there was a sea change moment of, oh, we'll have this little group that understand what we're doing and what we love and why it's a love letter. And then we went to Mission Chicago, and we were backstage, and this was the first time we were able to do a convention, the entire run of the show at that point. And we said, okay, I'm gonna go out and introduce you guys, and we were gonna surprise everybody that you guys were in uniform, and and I was like, when they
I
came
wasn't.
you were watching from home.
I watched from. I wasn't home, but I was bummed that I didn't get to cosplay with everybody else.
We'll cosplay you some.
Yeah.
And then I was like, listen, I would love if we could get them to chant Lower Decks. And how about I go out, and then when Tawny comes out, I'll start to chant, and maybe they'll do it. And then I went out to introduce Tawny, and everybody started chanting without me even doing it. And it was like, oh no, wait, I think people like this show, this is amazing. So that was for me the first moment where I was like, maybe we did better than we were aiming for, which we were aiming for at least not getting not brought up when people talk about Star Trek.
Yeah. Now people just chant it for no reason in the middle of the street.
Having Cersei and Freddie here together is a really big deal because, back to your your wife, who's on the other Star Trek show, my second favorite of the shows.
Good number.
I'm kidding, I love Strange New Worlds. Of course I love Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds, everybody. Coming next year.
It's all right.
But she's around her cast members, you know, like all those, you know, cast members, they got a pretty good idea of what that show is going to look like because it's live action, they're on real sets, you know, but you guys, you're doing voiceovers probably separately, I have to assume.
I think we recorded one scene once.
Yeah.
With
One of our very first records were
Yeah.
together for season 1, and then after that it was all, I mean, pandemic-wise, it was in my own closet and making sure that my kids wouldn't scream.
You gotta perform at the same time.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, totally.
The difference is that when you're seeing these episodes, like you watch the second episode tonight for the first time, what goes through your mind when you see the finished product?
I mean, it always looks amazing. The animators of this show are awesome. The visual jokes that Mike thinks of that I don't even see on the page that show up on the screen are hilarious. And I've said this many times and I will continue to say it. Like, seeing our names come up in the credits on a Trek show and for it to have a theme is like fucking crazy.
It's all about fun.
It's crazy. It feels crazy. I mean, it's 5 to 8 seasons, and I still look at it and I'm like, dang! It's so cool.
You know, I've watched this episode like hundreds of times as we're editing it and fixing it and doing everything, and even watching it in here. Our production art team is at this company, Titmouse Animation. They're genius. And we have amazing, like everybody, they call themselves the Cerritos crew in the office. Like everybody on the crew is just so talented, and I really, like my partner in crime who really makes the visual look of the show amazing is our supervising director, Barry Kelly. Will work on episodes even after I'm like, we're done on that, we have to move on, and he will still be doing stuff so that when I watched it today, I was seeing stuff where I was like, that little sneak. You made this even better, you know? But the whole team is amazing. I don't want to list her all the way through them, but like that big list of blue names you see in the credits, like everybody in those credits loves this show. We all dearly love working together, and they do better than I could have dreamed they could do on a show like this.
Wasn't it fun seeing Tendi and Rutherford hug and hearing everybody? I really got chills. We were in the back.
When you guys all responded to that, I was like, oh, thank God.
For you, Noël, like over these years, whether it's working on the show or just watching it for the first time, like what did you discover about Star Trek as a whole that meant something to you? You know what I mean? Like, what was your takeaway after being a part of this thing that we all have loved for almost 60 years?
Well, the friendship that you see on screen, it extends in real life, and not only with this show, but all the shows, and every Star Trek thing that I've done has just felt like a big family, and the fans are so lovely, and people will like nervously come up to me in public and like ask me to sign things, and I've had times before where I'm like, no, but I never feel that way. I'm like, oh my God, of course. Like I've never felt weird about, not to encourage the, like in pub, but it's still, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, it feels very like safe and warm and like really respectful. And so it's the ethos, sorry to be like, do not approach me.
Just don't do it from like the shadows. Or
Right.
P3 of a parking structure. Don't jump out of a shadow and be like,
Be visible, but don't make yourself big, you know?
Yeah.
No sudden movements.
You're not a bear. I get it. No,
But
not behind a tree. Yeah.
It's not fake, and you know we can have this idea that Trek is about the future and like progress, but there's also just this. It comes down to the character, but there's like true character.
You know, I just want to say, I want to add to that also. It really is like a family, and it's not just the Cerritos family. it's really all at Starfleet, and I see it a lot because my wife does a lot of conventions, and I've seen you at a lot of them as well, Scott. And it's the connection that everyone has, and it's really incredible to see. And I told this story to Eugene, but I went to a restaurant, season 1 of Lower Decks, and LeVar Burton was eating there. And I was with my wife, and I went, "Holy shit, that's LeVar Burton." And she was like, "Just be cool, don't say anything. I have no idea who you are. I'm in live action, you're in animation. Maybe it's better if I go say something." And I was like, "Listen, Ransom is way cooler than we all know that." But we didn't say anything. And before we finished our meal, LeVar Burton came over and said, "Welcome to Starfleet, both of you." And it's really like, I just want to say, it's like those kinds of connections. It's incredible. And it's not just the LeVar Burtons. It's everyone here who comes down to the Lido in Long Beach, in Newport, apologize. To the Lido in Newport. It's a beautiful thing.
You know, I know I speak for everyone in this room and on the balcony. That crossover episode.
I mean, run it up because we were all. Yeah, I was gonna say, the two of them aren't here. It wasn't that good. I mean, they picked the wrong two, I think. No, it was amazing.
They gotta do another one with you guys in it, and then with the French you know, last time I checked, Strange New Worlds was kind of a spin-off of another show, so like, maybe we could spin a little live-action Lower Decks.
When you were showing all the sisters up there, I was like, oh, maybe there's an Orion spin-off of Lower Decks happening here. Like, what's Mike plotting back there?
Speaking of the Orions, so first of all, who do we have to thank for that pronunciation?
You have to thank somebody who made Star Trek the Animated Series where they like didn't do a ton of checking to make sure that everything sounded right.
You know who that person was?
Yeah, tell me.
William Shatner.
You think it was Shatner who was saying Orion?
He's reading, okay, so I know you guys know this. You know, he's recording his dialogue for the animated series without anyone else from the animated series actually there. You know, he was like remote, so he didn't have like a script supervisor to tell him, no, it's Orion's. So he read it wrong and they just left it in. And so we have William Shatner to thank for the Orions.
But the incredible award, they call him Mugatos, Mugatos. Even when the script supervisor is there, he's like, oh, whatever.
So I gotta ask you this, Mike. You know, so here we are. You know, we're getting to the end of season 5. So over these years, you've had so many great legacy Star Trek actors come back or do different roles or reprise their roles. I mean, Robbie McNeil did 2 roles, which was awesome. But did it ever occur to you, because this is animation, you don't have to worry about like using CGI to de-age people? Did it ever cross your mind to write a crossover and have Captain Kirk?
You know, it did, but it was almost like, it's hard to have Kirk or Picard, you know, like our Lower Decks characters from legacy shows work better on Lower Decks because it's almost like, what else could the show be about if Kirk was there? You know what I mean? And we kind of got away with it with Takei playing Sulu because it was like in a movie, in a dream, in a movie. But I never want to have legacy folks on and just have them be like window dressing or like a bit, you know, like I try to give them not only an extension of the character that they played before within the timeline and the time that's passed for that, but also a realistic reason they'd be on such a crappy ship. So now for a minute, I wanted to like, I think of Lower Decks as kind of a Rosetta Stone, that if you only found Lower Decks, you'd kind of understand all of Star Trek from all of the little things in it. So for a while, I was like, it would be really funny to have Kirk on, but it's Chris Pine Kirk. And like, figure out how to do all that, and like get that all freaking messy, and I they were like still trying to make the movies, and they said no, and I was like, that's fine, it'd be hard anyway. So.
Oh my God, talk about crossing the streams. That would have been
Because
awesome.
he still was kind of a dude. Whatever.
So as we listen, I know we don't want to spoil anything, or maybe we do. But Jerry, like knowing how the show will, how the fifth season will come to a close, what can fans expect as the season progresses?
Be careful.
I can tell you, Mike, our boss, really wanted to do it right. He really wanted to do right by you. And he really worked hard and over again. And I want you to know that he worked really hard at it. I'm not even doing this as a bit. You really labored over this, Mike. You really did, over and over again.
There's a scene with Ransom and Rutherford that I changed like 6 times in the finale, including like last week.
Yeah. I'm still recording this show. I mean, it feels like it. I mean, there's been changes enough to this, but that's Mike. Mike truly is like doing it right, and it feels great. And it's, but it's also a bummer that was it.
Let's not say that.
I'm saying that was it for the record so far, and that was also a question mark, because am I going back in?
No, it was,
Oh, but you know what? Just to answer your question,
I don't think.
without giving out spoilers, because Mike threatened me here, you heard that. There is progression for all of us. There's progression. Was that okay, Mike?
That's great. I think this final season, I was a big baby. I didn't want it to be the final season, and I knew early enough to be upset about it, but not to have processed what the right thing to do at the end. And I think as the season went, I'm really proud that it feels like that Lower Decks the show is one era. It feels like Lower Decks the show is one era of knowing these characters from beginning to end in one part of their life, and that you could see stories about them from before and like it, and that there's opportunity to tell stories after and like it, but that we didn't ignore that it was a series finale, and we also didn't end it permanently. You know?
Knowing that the show is going to come to a close, at least temporarily, we hope, you can write to that. And I think that shows some, safe over. Otherwise, you end up with Turnabout Intruder, okay? You don't want that. But, so, what does the number 940 mean to you?
Is that how many episodes there's going to be by the end of this year?
By the end, just by tomorrow,
By tomorrow?
when these first 2 episodes drop, there will have been 940 episodes of Star Trek since September 8th, 1966.
How many of those have you watched, Mike?
I've seen them all, baby.
But one right answer.
I was
You
about to
probably
say,
watched more.
I was about to
Because
say there's not enough. Yeah.
But so the question is, first of all, to 940 episodes of Star Trek, I say, take that, Star Wars.
I think Stargate has us beat though at this point. But,
Law and Order,
Law and Order's got us. You don't like Stargate? Come on.
That's okay. So, look, with the new shows that are coming, you got 2 seasons already that are already announced for Starfleet Academy. You got season 3 and season 4 for Strange New Worlds. You got, Section 31. So, hopefully Prodigy will be back for 3rd season. So, conceivably, within the next 2 years, by 2026, the 60th anniversary of Star Trek, you will hit 1,000 episodes of Star Trek.
It's time for Lower Decks to be rebooted and get the 1,000th episode.
There you go. So the question is, how should Star Trek celebrate its 1,000th episode.
Send us to space!
Wait, did I tell you guys they tried to send me to space and I was too scared to do it?
What?
I'll tell you about that other
What?
time.
I want to go to space. I'm all for the space. Even though William Shatner said it was. He was just a
I had trouble getting to Newport Beach. I'm not kidding. It was.
Wait. Yes, it's
Fine, it was
right.
great.
How do we celebrate the 1,000? I mean, first off, everybody in the world should watch, right? Everybody should show it to a friend. I think, for me, I would love to just see a whole new. I mean, I love that there's all these new shows. Like, I'm sick of that gap. I'm sick of the wait. You know, that, like, I'm sick of like when like an era ends and then we have to like wait for people to figure out that there should always be Star Trek. You know, so like, I would just hope that it's like, give us more movies, give us more shows, give us more eras. Like, you know, that's the way to celebrate the show, is to make a fuck ton of it. You know, that's what
No, I agree. I'm ready for another job. I'd be great on camera and live action, and I'd be excited to be involved. But yeah, I'll be there. I'll be next to Mike when the 1,000th happens, and because we might be doing something else, or we might be celebrating whatever is coming out. But it's going to be great. So you know, it's awesome.
I want to go to space. That's what I want.
That's what's
for
going to
the
happen. For
1,000th
the 1,000th episode, they're just going to take Noël to space.
Thank you. That's what I want.
Jared.
I'll be green too, if you need me to.
The green in space.
I'll be green in space.
I'm gonna go to a con as ransom, and I'm gonna be shirtless. I'm gonna take a selfie with everyone. Everyone.
Well, I gotta say, Phil, on behalf
Tag me.
of everyone in this theater, everyone, thank you to Newport Beach Film Festival for showing these first 2 episodes. Here's the good news. Here's the great news. So, obviously these 2 episodes are great. I mean, there's nothing like a good temporal rip to kick off the season of Star Trek. So tonight at midnight, or tomorrow technically, but at 12:01 p.m., you can rewatch these first 2 episodes on Paramount Plus. New episodes streaming every Thursday on Paramount Plus. And let's see, what I wanted to really say was to thank you really for 5 perfect seasons of Star Trek. We're seeing everybody who took the time to cosplay here tonight. Everybody who took the time to come here to put on Cerritos uniform. I saw a friend as an Orion out there. I see some Boopsies out there.
Lucy out there with some
I see some TOS love. Like, listen, we love being here with you guys. Thank you so much for everything you do and all the effort you put into it. As much as we loved making the show, like, it does belong to all of you now, and we're not going to be talking about it. Like, we're going to be, you know, we'll air this season, and then it really does. I'm so interested to see, you know, what you guys do with it, because I did the same thing with TNG, and then I made my show. So, like, thank you for just supporting us and for chanting and just for being amazing and for coming out on a weeknight. Like, this is amazing.
And on that note, I gotta say that it is this love for Star Trek that has kept it going. You know, I'm part of the syndication generation from the 70s, and that generation made Star Trek so popular. You got the movies and Next Gen and so on and so on. So keep on loving Star Trek, and make sure you can really help us out as we're leaving. If you can stay seated, so we can split. But also, since we're back, you know, season 5 is premiering tonight. Make sure you go on social media, tell everyone how much you love these first 2 episodes. So spread the love. Go on Twitter, go on Instagram. If you're still using MySpace, knock yourself out. Spread the love for Star Trek Lower Deck season 5. Thank you all so much.